might even be able to get your phone numbers.
Great.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We want to welcome you to our regularly scheduled board meeting of the Brownsville Navigation District. If everybody would please stand. Christina, if you leave some time.
Lord, we praise you and we thank you because we know that you are here with us. We ask you to send your Holy Spirit to guide the decisions that will be made today, that they will be for the betterment of our port and our community. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Christina, if you leave some time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. This is the first time of our meeting when we take public comment from the audience, and we also have a second public comment period. The first public comment period has to do, or is when someone in the community can come and speak to an item that is on the agenda. And let's see, Mr. Cifuentes, you have signed up.
Good afternoon, President of the Board, board members, Director of Operations, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Francisco Cifuentes, and today I want to let you know that two people have passed away. One of them was a man that probably many of you didn't know, but many years ago, 25, 30 years ago, one of the canals, a car plunged into the canal, and there was a couple, an older couple. The man was saved. The lady was stuck in the back window, and she passed away. The man that saved this gentleman was my brother. He passed away. We buried him yesterday. His name was Ramon Cifuentes. And the other person is Pete Harley. He was very well known around the Port of Brownsville. He worked around here for many years. He was my neighbor in Rio del Sol. He left his health in this port, welding for so many companies and working very hard to support his family. His son and daughter went to school, and I knew him personally. He was a great person. He was a great man, and he was very involved with the Port of Brownsville. He passed away, and that's what I needed to let you know. And another item is I'm going to be renting property from the port. I was always fighting to increase the rent, and now I'm going to say, no, don't increase the rent. So anyway, I'm willing to pay my share.
I think peace at last.
That's all.
That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Sorry about the other news, but thank you for the good news. Welcoming you as a tenant. Let's see, we also have Commissioner Garza, Commissioner David Garza from Cameron County. Is Commissioner Garza here?
I'm here, but I'm not on the agenda.
Okay.
So it would be after executive session.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner, and welcome to our meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Garcia, David Garcia.
The same.
Okay.
Same.
Welcome to our meeting as well.
Thank you.
First item on the agenda being approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 5th, 2006, and the minutes of the special board meeting of April 12th, 2006.
Make a motion with corrections that are already been made.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
This is the yellow one is the corrected copy?
Yes.
Yes.
And those have been approved by Mr. Renfro.
Yes, that's correct.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, there are none. Ladies and gentlemen, also I wanted to note that I believe you will be leaving early, Mr. Gaynor. You have an engagement at 6 o'clock today.
Yes.
And he has a debate at 6 o'clock, so he'll be leaving us early. So we'll try to move this meeting along as quickly as possible. Item number 2, Port Director's Report. Mr. List.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff, and visitors this afternoon. I have some good items to report. First, I'd like to share that the Port of Brownsville has been invited to participate in a panel for the Breakbulk conference that is held every year in New Orleans. Last year it was moved to Houston because of the hurricanes. So they had a panel that gave the opportunity to lesser obvious ports in the area to and they named it in the past ports less heard of, and they didn't like the name too much, so now they've revised it and they're calling it regional ports. So we've been picked as one of the ports from the U.S. Gulf. There'll be another one from the West Coast, and I think it's a great opportunity for the Port of Brownsville to get exposure in the Breakbulk Conference, being as we are a big breakbulk port. That's what we do, and the shippers, the receivers, the users overall, and the carriers are very involved in these type of conferences. So we were honored. This is sponsored by the JOC, the Journal of Commerce, which is a very significant journal in the industry, and so we were very honored to get that phone call and get the offer to be able to speak on the panel regarding regional ports. Happy also to advise that on Friday we're having a group of people come down from Galveston, from the U.S. Corps of Engineers, that are coming to visit us as we piece together some of the changes that happened in our dredging programs because of the shoaling and the crisis, the emergency dredging that had to take place. So we have to piece that all together. Colonel Hostain is going to be coming for everybody's information. Alicia Ray, who was day-to-day with Donna and some of the rest of us, day-to-day, and I mean night, day, weekends, she was really on top of it. We were so grateful to her, and I think because of her, we had a greater success because she was really on top of the surveys, and if they missed some places, she was aware of it and really challenging people, challenging the dredge to go back and take care of those critical areas. So we're going to thank them first of all for the good work they did, and as I mentioned in another occasion, we feel that other ports in the area are kind of, in a good way, envious of the work that was done here at the Port of Brownsville. Tomorrow we're meeting with the folks regarding the 250 acres across the street from Rio del Sol that we're trying to work with them to have access to be able to develop that area. And I think, Nina, you're going to address that a little later, so we'll hear from Mr. Gutierrez on that. I think Mr. Vestedo was a part of the TxDOT committee. Is the committee on port activities, and so we are active on that again, and I'll be representing the port for that purpose. And I think that we mentioned also before that there's a lot to be contributed and shared between us and them, that they understand more what it means as fuel prices go up and everything, to help us to work with this on our infrastructure, as we're linked to everything that is over the road. We also mentioned previously that we have a new container yard being developed here in the port, and that's pretty exciting because the carriers are going to be looking at that as a first step towards develop. The Gulf Shipper, which is a journal, it's an industry journal that covers a lot of those, has called us to ask about the details of that and how that's going to impact our future, and becoming a container port in the near future is what we look forward to. Also, we talked a lot about Dock 16. We want to keep that alive, and we have some items today on the board, on the agenda. And our finance director has informed us that by the end of this week, we will have $500,000 in our Dock 16 account. Okay, so we're moving forward on that. One of our big steel customers is along with one of their suppliers in England, that's T-Sport in England, has invited us to join them in some celebrations they're having, and I guess that's the sale of the 500 crane, the Gottwald crane or something.
1,000.
1,000, okay. 1,000. Gottwald is a German company that builds cranes. They built our crane, which is a Gottwald. they're having a big celebration, holding it there at T-Sport in England. So we're hoping that some of the commissioners or all the commissioners will travel with us. We have taken the opportunity to go over there and sign a sister port agreement with T-Sport. Again, they supply a lot of slab that comes through the port of Brownsville, and we want to recognize and make it official that we're a working partner with them. And again, all that takes place in the logistics between what happens over there and how to get it here and on through to northern Mexico and all of that. So really looking forward to that trip. They've got a great agenda. We will have tours and see their slab productivity process and several conference presentations there to enlighten us to how this all happens and better understand the commodity that we're receiving over here. The last few days we've been having an audit from TxDOT, which they do on our overweight permits. And the result is pretty much all is clear. There's a few details that are being worked out there, and that's good. All the money was accounted for and in good order, and we're very happy to hear that. Okay, and Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Any questions for Board Director List? Thank you, Mr. List.
On the T-Sport
Yes.
Trip, I believe on being something that is something that's overseas, I think we should have an agenda item on that to make sure that we do it openly for the.
Okay.
I have an issue on, I don't know the dates
Okay.
that we would be going on, but I think it's right during election time.
It is.
And it might create a little conflict with who, I mean, I wish everybody could win, but there's only 2 seats. So, I think that's going to create a little conflict. So I think that's something that we have to look at.
And we have, and this is the dates have been changed to accommodate some of the things that we had, and that's why we haven't really dealt with all this. It's their program, their dates, so we're trying to adjust to their schedule. And yes, we can get better travel rates by going on the 13th, and we understand that some people would not like to travel that day. But we can still get there for the program by traveling on the 14th, and those are all the things we're dealing with. So we will keep you posted and put an agenda item on. Yes, sir.
Chairman, I will not go with you on the trip.
Notice that.
Regardless of the election or not, I don't believe it's, all the commissioners should go, it should take just a few. And save that, $1,000 or so for Dock 16.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Thank you, Mr. List. Item number 3, receive report on the Brownsville Matamoros Railroad Relocation Demonstration Project. Mr. Gutierrez?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I think it's only right that I give you a report on the railroad relocation that we're finishing. Give you a little background on the project. This project was authorized under the 1973 Federal Highway Bill. At that time, there were 12 railroad demonstration projects. The 1976 Federal Act had 6 projects. The 73 legislation included a project in Brownsville which provided for the relocation of the railroad lines from the central area of the city and with the intent of eliminating a substantial number of existing highway conflicts. This would probably be one of the only projects, major projects that have been completed. There have been smaller projects like rate separations and so forth. I might add that initially the federal legislation provided for a 5% local share. It was a 95.5, and it required also a local sponsor. The city and the county both turned the project down, but the Brownsville Navigation District, seeing the advantages to be derived from the project, not only for the port, but also, and maybe primarily for the city, elected to act on as sponsor. Legislation was changed in the 60s where that 95.5 became 80-20, and this left a 15% void to be funded. Now, in the 5%, the railroads under the memorandum of understanding, the MOU, agreed to pay for 5%. So when the port went back to the railroads and they said, you know, we've got this 15%, Boyd, and they said, nothing doing, we're not going to, we've got a airtight agreement, 95.5. In your handout that I just gave you, and I might go over this segment. Segment 1 was consisted of putting the grade separations at 48 and the railroad port lead coming into the port. In my opinion, when that was done back in the early 90s, or completed back in the early 90s, we saw a drastic reduction in vehicle accidents. Segment 2 was from the Southern Pacific line, the old Southern Pacific line, and went into the Missouri Pacific line, which is now UP. And segment 3 was from the SP line into the port. As this project was being developed, it was decided to go with segment 3 first, and primarily because the port owned some property and it would be easier on the right-of-way acquisition. So segment 3 was built before segment 2. Now this turned out, in my opinion, to be a blessing in disguise, because if we would have built segment 2 first, and when we went to the railroad company for the additional 15% void, they would have gotten what they wanted, which was move their yard from downtown to Olmito. But they didn't have that yard in there, so they, after some finagling and meetings, there was meetings with the city, the county, and BND, they came back and gave us a funding mechanism that we thought would work. Also, under segment 2, we added 3 projects. The segment 3 or 2, I'm sorry, had several projects in there. It was packages A, which was the dirt work and bays, B, which was the track work, C was the administrative office, D was and E and F was the expansion to accommodate additional yard track and also a siding. And this was done, this project was being done to trade off for the Palo Alto yard. The objectives of the project was to reduce the conflict between urban rail systems and vehicular traffic in the city of Brownsville, and to demonstrate the economic, environmental, and social benefits of relocating existing rail facilities away from the Brownsville area. In my opinion, this has been met in many, many ways. Now, I might add that under the funding that was done, the appropriations that were done, and this would be thanks to the efforts of folks like Mr. Estado, Randy DeLay, and lobbying Congressman Ortiz, we were able to secure $40.49 million in this project. There was one of the later projects that came in that allowed us to use any balance in that project for our infrastructure inside the port. We have been very protective of that particular appropriation, and right now, and I need to reconcile with TxDOT, but it looks like we're going to have about $1.6 million left over from that Q92. Now, when you add that to the $2 million under the new federal highway bill, that totals to $3.6 million, and that projects with a 20% local share to about a $4.6 million worth of road work that we can do inside the port. Condition, of course, that the port's going to have to come up with about $920,000. When I give you those figures, that of course includes also engineering and construction management and so forth. I might add that when I submitted the program for the $2 million, our prices since then to now highway prices have really escalated because of the cost in petroleum. So I don't know just how much we're going to get out of this, but the prices have really escalated. give you a little breakdown on the project cost, segment one, which was the two overpasses, I estimated that to be $5 million. That was done initially, records, TxDOT couldn't tell me the exact cost, but that was what was programmed. Segment two was 25.9, segment three, 19.4, for a total of $50.4 billion. Now, I told you earlier that the federal appropriations were 40.4, and then the question comes up, how can this be? Well, it's the local 20% that comes into play on this. And also, there was some, the $5 million was 100% state money, and then on the 7783 overpass, they kicked in also a 500,000. Earlier, I indicated to you that, in my opinion, we had met our objectives and more. When I say more, is because, quite frankly, without this project, the county or the city would not be looking at the West Rail. If this project would have been done, the West Rail would have never materialized. And there were a lot of key players on this thing, starting with Mr. Cisneros. As I checked the files on this, and the correspondence, I mean, he really stayed on top of it until he developed an MOU. And quite frankly, without that MOU, nothing would have happened. I mean, and believe me, when you start dealing with railroad companies, getting two railroad companies to agree is really something. And he prevailed on this. Of course, Mr. Bestedo and Gene Cochran played a big role on this, and so did Randy DeLay. At the local TxDOT level, the two district engineers that I worked with, one of them was Namadero Science, the other one was Mario Borges. They pushed this project like as if it was a railroad project, I mean a highway project. Normally, my experience has been that when you act as a PESCO agency, there's not much interest in some of the lower echelon engineers to continue working on it, but they worked real hard on this. I mentioned earlier that you know, Mario and some of the folks that played a role in this. Of course, I must not forget Daniel Renfro. Renfro acquired all the right-of-way for the project.
Senior or junior?
Not at my cost. That was very enjoyable. Dean and I worked a lot together.
And one of the things that when you said that, you know, I forgot what I was going to say. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Has the cleanup finished at the Amigoland area?
The cleanup at Amigoland is finished, but of course, you know, sunflowers keep coming back, and we would be discussing more on that later on.
You have a timetable on when the railroad tracks will be taken from the front of the courthouses?
The last time, I think you asked that question to Norma, and Norma said she'd gotten clearance or was getting clearance from the historical committee, but I've been wanting to talk to Norma on that because, quite frankly, we didn't have to go through the historical committee because we're not removing any bridges. But anyway, we'll talk about that.
Yes, they needed proof. That was the affidavit I sent a couple of weeks ago. We still have not got the response back.
But I think we can shortcut that because all we have to say is we're not removing any structures.
Yeah, that's what William did on the affidavit I sent.
Anything else for you, Mr. Lynch?
Mr. Chairman, I just think it'd be in 30 days or so we started.
It should be. I mean, that's all they were waiting for.
One thing that I failed, if I may, that came now to me, what I was going to say is that Daniel threw me off, you know. But what remains to be done with the railroad folks is to sit down and talk to them about the agreements, Palo Alto Yard to transfer to us, and also us transferring the Olmito. Back when we were developing the additional project that provided for the rails, they were very anxious on that, and they were ready to go at any time. And in talking to Mr. Bestedo, we decided we would delay going to contract on that until we could see that we were going in the right direction with them. But ever since November, December, you know, I contact them every 2 weeks or once a month. When are we going to meet? And we still need to do this. And hopefully everything will work out. Daniel will be working with us on this agreement.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to add that I wasn't here when a lot of this took place, but I do want to commend Mr. Gutierrez for holding this project together. It's a lot of fun when it's all taking place and on the move, but tying all the loose ends and keeping all the parties focused is a major task. That, you know, and I think the magnitude of the results to this community of the project, of the relocation project, is something that is very evident. And of course, it would be more evident if it wouldn't have taken place in our driving to work in other places every day. So I just wanted to really, you know, the vision and the dedication of previous board directors was key to getting us started, and our lobbyists and so on. But to tie it all together, Nino's really been the glue that's held that all together. So I think it's important to remember that as he wraps this all up and puts the final touches to it.
One thing that I wanted to mention also is when we were talking about the 5% railroad, which they kicked in the additional monies, we developed Mr. Science and myself developed a financial plan, you know, to make up to 15%. But I must say this, that under this plan, the port was put up $350,000, the city $350,000. They came through, the county was supposed to put $350,000. We haven't seen that $350,000 yet. So we're around $350,000 on that thing.
They have a commissioner sitting back
I thought I would mention it for the benefit.
You know where I stand on that.
But what I want to stress on this is that even though technically BND shouldn't have been out any money because the railroads were paying for this, to my way of thinking, it's not accountable. Some of these monies that the commissioners spent on projects that we didn't get reimbursed. And so when Liz was talking about giving credit, I think past commissioners need to be recognized also because they have foresight on this. And I wouldn't start to put a pencil, a figure on paper as to how much we really spend that we didn't get reimbursed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Item number 4, report from the chairman of the board on the Port of Brownsville International Bridge Project Committee and its members and board approval of same. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last 2 years, I have created, as chairman, I created 2 major committees. The first being the Bridge Committee in September of 2004, and the second, the Master Plan Committee in March of 2005. With respect to the Master Plan Committee, that idea actually came to me one morning during one of my morning runs on Alton Boulevard. And not long after that, I called Commissioner Dos Santos and I talked to him about it, and he thought it was a good idea, and I asked him if he would be chairman of that committee. And he graciously accepted. I appreciate the direction that you're taking the committee in, Commissioner. You know, perhaps better than anyone else here, what the future needs are of the port. I guess I, as chairman, could have appointed the rest of the members of that committee. That is my prerogative, I'm told. But I chose instead to let my fellow commissioners appoint the other members of the committee. The only thing that I asked that they do before selecting the members is that we agree that they needed to be representative of the community, representative of the different interests in the community, the different perspectives, whether it be banking, real estate, finance, maquiladoras. There's a whole host of other categories that we agreed on as commissioners, and then commissioners themselves volunteered to select representatives from each of those categories, and they made excellent choices. The committee is moving forward. We have an agenda item having to do with that committee coming up here in this meeting. And I will continue to share the authority vested in this position as chairman with each of my fellow commissioners as long as that authority is exercised in a responsible and trustworthy manner. With respect to the Bridge Committee, that's a committee that I created, as I mentioned, in September of 2004. That committee actually came out of a meeting that I had with Mr. Willett in my office in the late summer of 2004, where he came to my office and told me that he felt that his investigation into the $21 million spend was being bogged down by false claims of progress being made in Mexico on our bridge project, and that he felt that a lot of his time was being taken away from the investigation into examining and determining whether or not those claims were true. And I told him, I said, Charlie, there's no question that right now we're stuck in the mud. We're not going anywhere. We need a solution to this problem, and we're not going to leave this office until we figure out a solution. And the solution that I came up with was that of appointing a bridge committee. It's been a very important committee. I appointed the members of the committee, Mr. Renfro, Mr. Gutierrez, and I appointed Commissioner Cristiano as chairman. And the mission of that committee was very simple. Basically, tell us how we can build our bridge. That was the play that the team called. There was no other play. There was no other plan. There was no plan B. Tell us how to build this bridge. That's what all of us were elected to do. That's what the charge of the committee was. Tell us how to build this bridge. But in the recent past, ladies and gentlemen, it is my conclusion that that play has not been executed, that other plays have been called, and that it is now time to put new players on the field, players that can take us over the goal line to get this bridge being built. I am today announcing a new bridge committee comprised of 6 members, all from the private sector. And for the first time in the history of the Port of Brownsville, this committee will be comprised of Americans and Mexicans. I will name 3 of those members today, and I will name 3 Mexicans at our next meeting in early May. I'm receiving recommendations from some folks. I invite my fellow commissioners to recommend to me people in Matamoros or in northern Tamaulipas that can get the job done for us. I have great faith in the business community in general. I have great faith in the private sector. I have particularly great faith in the businesses here at the Port of Brownsville, full of entrepreneurs, successful businessmen and women, and even more respect and faith in the 3 businessmen that are being appointed today. I will introduce them to you today in alphabetical order. First, Frank Parker Jr. Frank is president of Parker Co. Inc., DBA Parker & Company, and he has been president since 1985, and his company employs over 110 people here in this community. He is ISO 9002 certified as a customs broker, freight forwarder, and warehouse consolidation, and has a distribution firm with offices in Laredo, McAllen, Brownsville, Corpus, and Monterrey, Mexico, with forwarding agents throughout the United States and across the world. He is a member of the Wells Fargo Bank and the Valley Marketing Board of Directors. He is a partner in the NAFTA Industrial Park, 800,000 square foot industrial park here in the Port of Brownsville area. He is a president of X-Tex Investment Company, a real estate investment firm. Frank, as many of you know, is a member of the BEDC. In fact, he is a past chairman of the BEDC. He is a past chairman of the Brownsville Chamber of Commerce, a former board member of Wells Mercantile Bank, N.A. He's also a past president of the Propeller Club, a past board member of the Border Trade Alliance. Frank got his Bachelor of Business Administration in Finance from the University of Texas at Austin. He did his postgraduate work in engineering from the University of Houston. He is a past senior warden at the Church of the Advent here in Brownsville. He is fluent in Spanish. Frank is a true leader in our community. He is married, and he and his wife Susan have 3 children, ages 11 to 18. Frank has a tremendous skill and knowledge and aptitude of the economics of a bridge. Just when I talked with him several times before making this offer, I was impressed with his knowledge of the economics of a bridge and how to make it feasible to the port, how to make it feasible to a prospective franchisee, and how that in turn can benefit the entire community. And I'm also pleased to announce that Frank will serve as chairman of the committee. Thank you very much, Frank. Continuing in alphabetical order, Emilio Sanchez Sr. is yet another member of this committee. Emilio is the president and owner of Tex-Mex Cold Storage, Inc., a public cold storage and shrimp processing plant. He is also the president of Sandship, Inc., which buys and sells ships and offshore rigs. He has been in the import-export business since 1962, principally in Mexico, selling steel products and scrap. He also received his Bachelor's of Business Administration from the University of Texas at Austin in 1958. And no, Aggies, yes, you can apply for this position. We will certainly consider you. Before that, Emilio served in the United States Army from 1954 to 1956. He is married, and he and his wife Norma have 6 children and 13 grandchildren. And Emilio will also be a very important and valuable member in this committee. He can get things done on both sides of the border. He has proven that over the years. And he's told me that he has some time to devote to this. And so we'll take you up on that, Emilio. And thank you for your offer. The last member that I'm naming today is Kenton Edward Schaefer. His friends know him as Ken Schaefer. Ken is the owner and operator of Schaefer Stevedoring here at the Port of Brownsville. He has been in the maritime business for 38 years with operations in Tampico and Veracruz. He is a past board member of the Texas Commerce Chase Bank. He is a past board member of the Regents at the University of Texas at Pan American in Edinburgh. He and his wife Marty have 4 sons, one of whom is in business with Schaefer Stevedoring. Ken has impressed me over the 2 years that I've known him as a very strong voice, not just for the port and not just for the bridge, which he believes in ardently, but in making the port of South Texas, in making the bridge that we're going to build, the bridge of South Texas. He and I share a friend in Mike Allen, the chairman of the McAllen Economic Development Corporation, and we've talked about some things that perhaps we can do in the future with McAllen. When I called each one of these men recently, they didn't tell me yes. They said hell yes when it came time to accept this position. I think we need their enthusiasm. I think we need their zeal and their white-hot commitment to this port's bridge and no one else's. As I mentioned before, I will be naming 3 additional members to this committee from Mexico, and my intention is to name those at our next meeting, and my intention is for those to be from the private sector.
The only thing I want to make sure that we clear up is that while serving in the bridge committee, both Nino and Dan Renfro did an excellent job, and the fact that we were not able to take it to the end zone, and I just want to let this for the public's information, is because of the lawsuit, we could not touch any documents that we had. So we couldn't actually do anything until mid-January. And those documents have been taken to, like I said in our last meeting, have been given forward to the state of Tamaulipas. They're looking at the amount of documents that they have. They have not responded to us yet on what their findings are on the status of all the studies that we have, where we're at with them, whether we're going to have to redo them. We can use some of the stuff that has been done. They haven't given us that information. So I just want to clear up that part of it. And I'm excited that you all are going to be in the bridge committee. I think it's great. We need it for our community. We need to look at all avenues and options that we can possibly get. And I just want to applaud you all coming in and taking the position of getting this bridge done. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Along those lines, Mr. Parker and Ken and Amelia, you have full use of our staff. As a matter of fact, I'd like Dan to prepare, as a member of the committee, I'd like you to prepare an executive summary for them as soon as you can. I've already given them the committee guidelines so they know what their authorities are and frankly what they're not. So they're familiar with that. But if you can prepare for them an executive summary outlining the progress of the project since May of 2004 with some of those players involved. Okay? Any other?
Peter, I'd like to recommend that we leave a board member on that committee also. Because we just got the knowledge that started that, and I think he would be very viable to that committee also.
Well, I recognize that, Commissioner. It is my prerogative to name the members of the committee, and those are my choices.
So that's fine, then I would like to make a motion that he be put on that as a board action.
Okay, well, that's not on the agenda for today. You'll have to put that up at the next meeting. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I want to congratulate the new members. I know them well. I've worked with all of them for years now. And they're very reliable and good people. I know that we do a good job.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else? All right, item number 5. Authorize Port Director to negotiate with HDR Shiner Mosley and Associates for engineering services for the design and construction management of proposed Dock 16. Mr. Gutierrez?
Sure. Commissioners, at the March 3rd meeting, we have to consider retaining the services of an engineering firm for the design and construction management of Dock 16, was presented to the board. This item was tabled until the board would decide how the construction cost would be financed, since there was a possibility that the project would be constructed under the design-build concept. At that meeting, Chairman, you asked me what my recommendation was, and I told you I did not have a recommendation, and primarily because I didn't know which way this project was going to be funded. At this point, again, it has yet to be decided how the project would be financed. However, Hector has been doing some a little bit of research, and he's going to the design build. You have to go two ways on this. First, you put out an SOQ, more or less getting some qualifications from the firm, and then you come in with an RFP. When you submit the RFP, this is what it's going to take for us to prepare an RFP, because what you're doing is just about putting quite a bit of engineering work on it, geotech and otherwise, to give these folks an idea of how this thing's going to develop. We estimate that it would take us surveys and so forth, that it would take us about 30 to 45 days just to put a package together. When you look at that, and then you're looking at advertisement one more month, you're looking at review of analyzing the submittals, probably another 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks to take it to the board. So what I'm saying is that we would probably be looking at 3 to 4 months if we wait on this and go to the design build. And what I'm looking at, and what I'm getting ready to recommend to you, is that we go ahead and retain the services of an engineer to start the design. And at this point, like I had presented to you at the March 3rd meeting, I'm recommending that the ATRSMA be the ones. The reason for that being that China Mosley did the design work on Dock 15, and incidentally, we had a representative from China Mosley, Jeff Messinger, he was a project manager on it. And it should be pretty close to a mirror image of the 15, except we will want to have meetings with the stevedores for them to give us some ideas of how we can improve the dock. But I would estimate that we ought to be able to save at least $400,000 from the fee as compared to the previous fee. Jeff might not agree with me, but that's something to be negotiated. Like I stated earlier, we can easily cut the time frame. Say we go today on this thing, by about 4 or 5 months before we have somebody on board to do the design. My estimation is that if we get approval of this today, we can probably negotiate and be ready to present to the board to the next meeting and make a recommendation as to whether we've been successful in negotiating with China Mosley or we want to take it to the outside. I would also recommend that in this contract for engineering work, we break it down into 2 phases. And phase 1 would be the design segment, and phase 2 would be the construction management phase. The reason for this is that as they're working the design, the financing becomes available from someone that says, well, I want to have a hand on this construction management. We might be faced with a possibility, if it's to our advantage, to go a different route on the construction management. So this is the reason why I would recommend 2 phases. And with that, I'll leave it open to questions.
Would your recommendation, keep us on our schedule?
We're behind schedule right now, but it'll bring us up to pretty close to schedule, yes.
I just, well, first of all, when we've had, quite a few discussions on this and try to make sure that we've looked at all the angles and before bringing this to the board, we want to feel very comfortable that this is the right path to go down. And again, we're very comfortable with the experience of these folks, and the results were very good. And so again, the schedule part of it, and the savings, which I was told was closer to $500,000, but I'll settle for $400,000. I think that we would try to increase our savings as much as possible through all this. But it gives us a lot of flexibility going down this, and yes, we get started right away is one of the major issues. Is again, we've discussed the more time you delay it, the more building costs go up and other factors go up, steel, cement, all of this, the materials. So yes, we are strongly recommending this.
I might add something also if you mentioned the mirror image. We should not be necessarily married to particular design that we had. We would expect China mostly to come in with a little bit of innovative. If there is something out there that can be done, we would save with the construction cost. And I say this not to open the door for him to come in with a higher fee, but it's something that we would expect from him.
Does this bind us in how we're gonna pay for this? I mean, the only way? I mean, is this, it's just, I mean, exactly, but we can still determine that, how we're gonna be paying
Yes,
for
sir.
this.
Yes, sir. The thing that if we were to contract with him, then we need to be taking a real hard look at how we're gonna be paying this as monthly draws or whatever, whichever way we negotiate.
Right.
And for that, I mentioned earlier, we're going to start having a little cash in the kitty to face the initial startup costs.
All right, we had a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? There are none. Item number 6, consider and take action to authorize the staff to prepare an RFP for master plan, including discussion of proposed budget for same. Donna?
Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. List, a couple of meetings ago, I gave a presentation on the master plan committee and where we were, what we've been doing. And at that time, I told you that it was a recommendation of that committee to go to the next step and bring to you an RFP for your approval. We're doing that. I've pieced together an RFP. I've sent it out to all the committee members. They've looked at it, made comments. I've given it to the staff here in the port. Mr. Gutierrez and Mr. List and Daniel have looked at it. I wish I could tell you we were ready to bring it to you today for approval, but we're not quite there. But we will be by the next board meeting, if that's a way that you choose to go.
That's okay, Donna, but how about the discussion of the budget for that? Do you have any idea what we're looking at?
Not right offhand. I know you got a figure.
I did. I mean, from what I've looked at, and it's a pretty big gamut. I mean, I would say the bottom end, we're looking at $150,000. Top end, probably about $350,000 or $400,000. And those are based on estimates that were done a couple of years ago. I know that probably 5 years ago, the port looked at a master plan, and the price back then was $350,000. I've talked with Debbie, our finance director, about the money issue, and we've looked at several things. When we were preparing our budget this year, we knew that we were going to have some studies being ongoing, and she assures me that we'll have the money there. I would just urge the commissioners, when we get ready to look at these companies, this is an important undertaking for the port. You know, Mr. Gutierrez last meeting presented the 511 corridor. We've got new property opening up there. The land use plan is going to be a really, really important thing for the port to go on for the next 20 years. And so I would just urge you, I know we're trying to get money for Dock 16, but I would urge you to look at this with an open mind, and sometimes less is not more, or more is not better, but you know, please have an open mind when we look at these companies.
Let me ask you, Commissioner, Chairman Dos Santos, on this, once we get out the RFP and you get some responses, did you want your committee to go through them and then sift them down?
We'd probably sift them down, then come to the board.
That's what I thought.
So
That's perfect.
That's what we've had. In the RFP that we've put together so far, the committee would review them and kind of pick the top 3, and those top 3 would actually come back to the board and give. And the board has the authority to look at all of the presentations.
I don't think that's necessary.
But I know that we are going to have quite a few companies that are interested, because we've, you know, kind of put the word out, and I've received several calls. So I think that we're going to have a nice variety of companies that come in to look at it.
Well, I'll be happy. I'm sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, and I know I'm repeating myself, but the importance that we all know to have an official document represent us is something, it's very costly, and like Don is saying, you know, we have other priorities too, but we have to take this very seriously, because even as we've all learned, being in Washington and so on, when you're trying to get dredge monies or whatever you need, you know, that kind of a plan, we put it before committees and so on, speaks a lot more than whatever pitch you can give a senator or a committee. So, you know, I'm not overselling it. If there was any way we could find, you know, partnering with somebody to reduce these costs, I would certainly recommend that we continue to exhaust those avenues. But I think we need to keep moving on it, because to not have it in place, then it's going to bar us from a lot of the other bigger objectives that we have.
In the RFP, Donna, are you going to put a budget?
Well, after we look at the company qualifications, then we will ask them to submit a budget to us. Yeah, that was the plan.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Let's just take a vote on it. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Thank you, Donna. To authorize the staff to prepare the RFP. Item 7, consider and act on proposed agreement with Brownsville and Rio Grande International Railroad and Port of Brownsville. In light of the fact that all of us here just got that agreement at about 3 this afternoon, can we have a motion to table?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, there are none. Let's get that looked at again at the next possible meeting. Item number 8, consider and act on consulting contracts and work contracts. A, PPS Consult, April 1st, 2006, $18,000.
Motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah, on this, he gets paid $15,000 a month, and the $3,000 is supposed to be for expenses, so I think we need to account for those expenses and not just dish out $3,000 without anything to show where it went. I think that's something that we need to see.
You know, along those lines, commissioners are required to submit receipts. Our auditors told us that not only do we have to submit the hotel bill, well, but it's itemized, though, Commissioner. Is it receipts as well? The reason why I'm saying is, the other day I submitted an expense report, and it had a hotel bill, and it had something like a room service charge of $5 or $10 for coffee. And I was told that I needed to actually submit the room service slip, not just on the printout. Do we require that of our consultants as well? Do we require the receipts?
We don't know.
Well, then the question is, why not?
I think that it was changed.
Yeah, we changed the travel policy.
It was changed.
So you're not required, I mean, your room service bill stands for itself. I mean, you don't need to get an itemized receipt for that. We changed our travel policy.
I thought our auditor said they needed that.
No, we changed our travel policy.
They did say it, but they did say it, and I think we sent something out to you all, but it was changed, where we changed the policy.
Only you have to do
Yeah,
Those $10 cups of coffee, right?
Randy's bill, nothing is itemized. He just saying $3,000.
Justina, but that policy only, it's for us and for commissioners, not consultants.
No, it's just for us.
The way he used to send his bills, he did itemize it. Then in the board meeting, he was under the impression that it was just a $3,000 flat fee. Debbie came back with the minutes, and then we got that clarified. So I'm sure his next bill will, but this was in between, and that's what he assumed. It was 15 plus the 3, because it was a little.
But I don't think we should pay the $3,000 unless we know what it's for.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen this item. What?
He's just billing $3,000 for expenses.
Travel expense, $3,000.
But prior to, he did itemize them. Prior to, he did.
I see your problem, Commissioner. And so you'd be in favor of paying the 15 per the contract,
But not the $3,000 until he gives us a bill.
Did we have a motion to approve payment of this bill as submitted? All right, Commissioner Dos Santos has moved to approve payment as submitted. Do we have a second to that motion?
Yes, I second
Okay,
it.
all right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? I'm opposed as well. Item B, Lemunion Group LLC.
My problem is this. We should pay this and ask him to turn in. It's not his fault that we, as a board and the staff, didn't have our act together as far as the minutes were wrong and we had to come back and fix the minutes. I believe we should go ahead and pay this, ask him to itemize it. If there's a credit to us, so give us that credit, and of course, if it's more, well, it's on him.
Item B, Lemunion Group LLC 4106, invoice number 60 for $10,000. Now, in this case, Mr. List, tell me how these expenses are handled.
That is correct, and
It's a little different than Mr.
The minutes reflect that, and that's how it was discussed and approved. Is basically, that it's a flat fee going to a company for all their expenses. How they go about meeting those expenses is their business. Is I think the structure somehow either got confused, but it was intended differently and backed up differently. So
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 9, consider and take action on items over $10,000. A, Brownsville Herald.
Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Miss, A is the Brownsville Herald. We are required by the Texas Election Code to advertise our election notice and order in English and in Spanish 4 times prior to the election. And the cost for this will be $14,088.48.
It's very costly to run an election. Second motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. You can just hold on for just a second. Daniel, when she mentioned about translating it into Spanish, not only get that executive summary for the 3 members in English, but see to it that it get translated into Spanish. Okay, I'm sorry, I just remembered that right now as you were mentioning that. Item B, Texas Department of Transportation, information only.
Yes. We had submitted a check to TxDOT for $340,791.94, and this is for a large project that they have for the overlaying of several roadways, and this is a portion for the overlay around the district, roads around the district.
We have the money to do that.
Yes, that comes out of the overweight permits.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But just to discuss,
That's just written.
I've
Yes,
seen the
that's-
bill in here, which I don't know who paid it, or will it be paid, or when it will be paid, I've seen the bill. And I don't disapprove of it because that's what it's for.
Okay, anything else on that item?
No, that's
Christina?
it.
Thank you. Item number 10, consider and act on the following.
Excuse myself.
Okay, yes, you may be excused, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, did you vote on that?
No, it was just information.
Information.
Item 10, consider and act on the following leases. Number 1, Deep South Tex Terminal LP, new lease.
Every time Nino does this part for me, there's a controversy.
Create a lot of problems, I don't know why I volunteered for this. This one's gonna be easy.
Where is Debbie and Dee today?
Debbie is around.
Debbie had a kickball game.
Oh.
Her granddaughter's kickball. She's a coach. And Bee's on vacation.
Speaking of kickball, we want to salute the Porter soccer team and recognize them. And Vicky Mercado is organizing a fundraising drive. We want everyone that comes to our meetings to contribute, as well as commissioners, as well as employees, to contribute to, we're going to pass out these flyers, to contribute to the cause of getting these champions their rings. And our goal is $1,400, which is easily attainable with even the crowd that's just here right now. And so please take one of these flyers before you leave. We'll pass them out. We're asking that the cash or gift card donations be made directly to the Porter High School in care of the soccer team donation. It's a worthy cause, and we all join in congratulating the Cowboys' 2006 state champs in soccer. Sorry about that.
You have my pledge of $50.
There you go. Good. We'll start it off there. Go ahead, Mr. This.
The first item is Deep South Texas Terminal, and the new lease was to replace the contract with Satellite. The lease has been signed, the new lease has been signed, however, we have not been able to get a release of lease from Satellite, and before we execute this lease, we need to get that release, so we recommended that we table this one.
Okay.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 2, Satellite, is that Satellite 1? Satellite Inc.? Okay, 1 Inc. Okay, Satellite 1 Inc., release of lease.
And that's the one that says one signed, so the item number 1 and 2 for that matter should be tabled.
I'll make a motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 3, Premier Services Corporation, new lease.
That one there is the one for the new highway that's gonna be coming through, you know, on the 511, and we were, I might say a little late, I guess, in all fairness to them, you know, in getting their lease to them. We have not had it returned signed, so also recommended that this one be tabled.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Holt Texas Limited, release of lease.
Well, let's go to number 4 first. Chemical response.
I'm sorry,
and
chemical
remediation.
response and remediation contractors.
This one will be taken over the whole lease, and don't look into this, Christina, but, and it's located about right in this area in here. And the purpose of the lease is well, it's first to be effective May the 1st, for 1 year with 4 renewal options of 1 year each. The purpose of the lease is for environmental remediation contracting, and also to fabricate small steel components. The rent will be $7,800 per year, based on 325 feet of street frontage at $1 per foot, and 325 linear feet of dock at $1 per foot. We recommend that this lease be executed.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 5, Holt Texas Limited, release of lease.
This is a release of the 2 leases that they have in the property that I just mentioned to you, and they've been executed. We recommend also that it be.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 6, SPI Seascape Inc.
This is for a company by the name of Seascape, and it's right in this area in here, in the center portion of the 3 fingers of the fishing harbor. And this new lease would terminate and replace BND lease to Francisco Abrego to be effective April 5th, 2006, for 1 year with 4 renewal options of 1 year each. It is for the purpose of seafood unloading and vessel tie-up. The rent to be $2,784 per year, based on 130 foot of street frontage at $1 per foot per month, and $102 linear foot of dock at $1 per foot per month. We recommend that these be executed.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor
Is
say
everything current on this? Because I see we're going to number 7, saying release.
Well, we have that, yes, I'll get it.
item, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 7, Francisco Abrego, release of lease.
This is the release of the lease that, for Seascape, and we do have it executed, so we recommend that that one also be approved.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, I'm sorry, we need at least one aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 11, consider and take action on assignments, negotiations, easements, subleases, and contracts in general. Item 1, Brownsville Public Utilities Board.
The PUB is wishing to lease 2 tracts of 40 acres each. One of them is over in the area next to their substation for purpose of orientation. This here is Highway 48, and this is Chemical Road, so there's 40 acres in here. Also, back in this area in here, another 40 acres, and this was in the area that the board had previously negotiated with Enron for a lease of about 400, 600 acres, something like that. In conjunction with that, they also will be looking for an easement, and we'll be negotiating for an easement coming down on Chemical Road all the way to the old Highway 48, and then coming on Highway 48 back to an area somewhere in here. Then we are going to go under, they want to go under the chip channel and then come back to east of the future truck corridor to this 40 acres. From there, they would come back out on the, I'm going to call it the south side, come back in and go south all the way across Highway 4 and to the river. This in here, that I've talked to, asked them about it, this will be aerial. They would probably go just, well, they would bore under the ship channel, and those are things that we're going to have to resolve with them, same way we did with Valero. The purpose of this lease is they want to convert AC current, alternating current to direct current, and in both places. And the reason being was that right now, PUB tells me that in this any development in here that would come in, the most they could give them would be about 100 megawatts. There was an outfit that was wanting to come in here several years back, build, and they did not have the capability to give them what they wanted, which was about 600 megawatts. So with these two substations converted to DC, don't ask me how they do it or anything, but anyway, they can increase the wattage production on this thing. Memory serves me right, but when I talked to their electrical engineers, he said, well, we'll be able to give you the 600 plus, maybe even closer to 100 megawatts. So we are asking that we be authorized to negotiate. Mr. Liz, you met with folks also?
Yes, John Gruziak, Mr. Gruziak, and Fernando Sainz came to visit us initially before meeting with Nino, and they were pretty excited about this because that was a project from the past that got tangled up in I think the Enron situation, and so they're very excited that they do have a proponent for the project now, and it's on wheels. This is a $60 million project, so this behooves us. Their employment behind it, it's good things. The other part of it is, like Mr. Gutierrez has mentioned, is the fact that there will be here inside of our port. We have, with the BDC and other efforts, we have visited, I think, the mill you were referring to, and those type of projects require high levels of energy, and if we don't have it, then we can't welcome them here. We had a visit recently. B is not here, but just kind of out of the blue, somebody with aluminum processing, that they're looking to do it in the United States instead of across the border for different reasons, new ideas, new things. And the first question is, how about your energy situation? So again, this conversion from DC to AC allows for the high levels of energy consumption to be met. And so I think since the more we talk about our master plan efforts and so on, energy is something of the future. We're looking at it in every possible way. We mentioned wind generation, all kinds of energy, and also coal possibilities here in the port, which activates us in many ways. So this is very important. We're going to follow it very closely. And we told them we definitely support them in any way we could to help them move this project forward.
Is that 1,000 megawatts, or you said 100 megawatts? 600 to 1,000 megawatts? 1,000 megawatts.
1,000.
Yeah, you said it. That's 600.
No, 100 is what they can supply right now.
Right.
Without
Yeah,
this.
600, you said it can go to 1,000.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Can I just say one thing? I would ask that when we negotiate with them, that we be really sensitive to that piece of property on the south side. They had that before under the right of first refusal, and that was one of the sites that Project Ricky looked at, and we were able to offer that because PUB just had a right of first refusal, and since that was going to be a big project, PUB gave that up. But that's about the last big piece of property that we have to offer that have already improvements on it. So, I mean, if they could maybe look at alternative sites, if it didn't really matter to them where it was, because that's right in the middle of the last piece of property that you have.
What's your response to that, Mr. Rubio?
Well, I don't have any problem with that. It's not necessarily in the middle because it's right at this point in here, and I don't think we own this property in here, so we're right at the edge of this area that we have negotiated with Enron. But certainly I wouldn't have any problem in seeing if we can find some other place where we could keep that intact. This would be up to the leasing committee to see. But I think myself that it shouldn't, for whatever reason they say they insist on that, I think it behooves us to proceed with it because otherwise we might not be able to attract some of this heavier industry that we are looking for.
What is your motion, then,
The
Commissioner?
motion is to go on with the recommendation, like Donna said, see that
Well, it's just to negotiate.
Yeah,
So I mean,
I'm saying
let's not make it
yeah,
more difficult than it is.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
yes, I make a motion to negotiate.
We already have a motion.
Okay, second. Just go and talk to them and figure out what's
Why do they
best.
want to go to the river? This guy? Why do they want to go up all the way to the Rio Grande?
I think they're bringing in power from Mexico.
Oh, that's why they want the right of way to bring it in.
Yes.
And they will be located on the right of way of the Southwood Corridor.
And for us, just to add, you know, as we develop more of the south side, that puts our energy on the south side as well, which we are fairly limited.
Bob?
And I'll tell you now, I have a project that requires 6 to 10 megawatts. They can't supply it.
There you go.
I mean, on the south side. They can on the north side, but they cannot. I'm having to put generators in because they can't supply me.
There you go.
So Donna, if it comes to either that piece of property or making it a deal breaker.
No. But I'm just saying, let's just be sensitive to it. Because, I mean, we've had in the past companies come in and ask us for big pieces of property, and we really don't have any. I mean, I know we have a lot of land, but places where it's already improved, where it has utilities, we just don't have it. So I'm just saying be sensitive to it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, there are none. Item 2, Celso Martinez / Alma Cifuentes. Is this yours, Mr. Cifuentes?
Yes, sir.
Your wife owns a company? It's called community property.
I want to move to accept Mr. Cifuentes in our family.
Is this Celso Martinez the former jailer?
No,
Is
it's
it
also
different?
Martinez, the little bar that was there, but I'm into
A bar.
different, yeah, that's gonna be closed.
Okay.
We're gonna knock down the building, we're gonna improve a lot.
All right, and
Offices,
Commissioner Collins moved to accept this lease even without it being presented by Mr. Gutierrez. And we have a second from Commissioner De Los Santos. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, there are none. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our meeting. We will stand adjourned for executive session. Yes, sir. Okay.
He'll be in about 6 months.